And we are live for episode 4 of the PHU Dynasty podcast. And you might
Yes.
notice that's not my normal co host, Sean. That is, once again, Los Angeles Lambs CEO, CFO, fucking BPA, best player available, whatever you want to call him, James Seafew here again. How you doing tonight, James?
I'm doing great. Ready to talk about Louisiana Hurricanes, the team that I'm very familiar with, and let's get the episode rolling.
All right, so let's just quickly review Justin's year last year.
Yeah.
This team, when you look at it on paper, you have to say to yourself, how did this team finish in this position? Because there's talent. There's a lot of talent.
There's talent up and down the roster. It's wild. It's like the players that his top players are like getting hurt in different years. Like this year, like Zeke is not very good, and guys like like Michael Thomas sucks. The year before he like had no quarterbacks. It's just like it reminds us every time how important depth is, and like star players are great on top and they'll carry you when everything else is not going good. But when those guys are in bye weeks or when they get hurt too, you have to have answers, and that, right?
Yeah. I think this is the team that I bet on in Dynabook.
It is, yes,
to win the championship next year because the odds were so strong.
Yeah, it's a team. Yeah, that's one that probably has to be looked at again. But to start, yes.
But I had to get the odds while they were there. So
yeah.
So I'm appreciative of that. But I would just venture to say that this is a team that wasn't living up to the expectations for the last couple of years. And
they had that run where like they like didn't you beat him for your first title when the blowouts finally broke through there?
I had to throw we got a live viewer, Alex Morales, in here.
I love it.
I'm sorry, I got distracted. What did you ask me, James?
I asked you. I believe Justin was the finalist when you won your first title. Is that right? Like he was the other finalist. Like that's who you beat to win your first title.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because that's kind of he was so we saw that, and it's like we thought his he had maybe some young players. Zeke was really good, and then everyone's kind of been waiting for like that next big step, and it like we keep getting these 8th, 9th place finishes with decent points for and some of these things, but like I don't know, it's just like not working out. It's a very fickle game, fantasy football.
It just shows you like, yes, you can have a really nice team on paper, but if they don't show up to play, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. You just kind of have to ride it out in Dynasty. There's not many scenarios where you'd want to make a huge trade when you have that much talent already on the roster. It's a long-term game. Like you don't want to just give away talent because they're not performing this year.
Yeah.
So
it's all about the long game, as some of our favorite viewers out there will recognize.
It is about the long game, and there's our one live viewer as of right now would be the one to tell you. All right, let's get right into it. Let's start with these quarterbacks because it's an interesting group. Look at that pro graphic.
I love it.
So let's start with, it has to be his top asset is Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
he looked great last year. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the talent is clearly there. It's so weird watching him go from like LSU, where he's got this perfect complement of players around him, good old lines, good defense, and then go to the Bengals, where there's just no offensive line, zero talent on the defensive side of the ball. They have some good receivers on.
They got some playmakers.
Yeah, they got some playmakers. Even if AJ Green doesn't come back, like they're going to be okay. Joe Mixon is a back who's like is solid. It really sucks that he tore up his knee, and because it's almost like now this next upcoming season is like it's almost going to be like probably like an incomplete unless out of nowhere the Bengals have this great season, which is hard to see happening.
Yeah, they're gonna need a huge draft if they're gonna get anywhere near like playoff contention. Yeah. I think luckily I think Burrow he did tear his ACL and whatever other knee ligaments. It wasn't super late in the season, but it might be a situation where he doesn't start like week 1, 2. He might end up being on the PUP list. Like, who knows?
Right.
So for Justin, next year, thank God he's got Matt Ryan. I assume Ryan's going to be the quarterback there still in Atlanta. I mean,
and absolutely. And even if like Atlanta trades, we're hearing all sorts of wacky things. Oh, there's gonna be all these crazy cuts next week and the salary cap. And, we've already had, like a couple quarterbacks get traded. It's not out of the realm possibility that Matt Ryan's not on the starting the Falcons, but he'll be a starter, and he's solid still, but he's not a guy that you want to be thrown up there, every week. So yeah, Justin could definitely be a candidate to add another quarterback in this draft, as he has yours truly third overall pick. So that'll help, including Justin's own second overall pick. Yeah,
I think he's going to be one of the candidates, and it may not be in the first round, might be 2-2 or 2-3 wherever he's picking.
Yeah.
I think you have to put him as one of the prime candidates to pick a quarterback this year. I mean, he tried Haskins. Clearly, that didn't work out.
Bridgewater could definitely be on the chopping block. Carolina all the talk is Carolina wants Watson. So
I could see Bridgewater being a backup and having no fantasy value. So that would be unfortunate for him, because I mean, 2 of those guys looked decent to have on your dynasty roster, both Haskins and Bridgewater last year. Both those guys could literally just be backups next year. And then with Burrow out, he might only have one active quarterback to start the season. Yeah,
and Matt Ryan at this stage of his career is just he's not in the QB1 conversation anymore, right? Like he'll have weeks where it's like, oh shit, but it's like it's at that point where it's like it's not even like, oh, it's going to be that like high scoring games with the Falcons. Definitely no. The Falcons have been very weird over the years, where like they've played these weird like 20 to 17 games where just like it looks like the teams are playing in quicksand, and then there's games when it's just it's a big shootout. You can't trust the Falcons.
Yeah,
believe me, I ate a bunch of waffles this year because I trust the Falcons. So
the only thing I'll bring up just to kind of close out the quarterback conversation, because we know Burrow's good. He's a dynasty asset. I mean, when healthy, he's probably a top 10 dynasty quarterback. I mean, honestly, like with what he showed.
Yeah, I agree.
What I will say for Matt Ryan is, do you think the addition of Arthur Smith as a head coach kind of revitalizes him a little bit? Do you think that he could get kind of like a Tannehill-esque, like turnaround type of deal, especially if they don't take a quarterback?
That's a good point. My counter to that would be is they have nothing close to a Derrick Henry, right? Which Arthur Smith's had, right? So like
Ito Smith,
Ito Smith, yeah.
Hey, watch out.
Todd Gurley's probably not going to re-sign there. They'll add a running back. There's tons of running backs that are going to be on the move, and there's good ones in the draft. So like they'll get somebody back there. But the Matt Ryan Tulio connection is always out there still. It's just like I said, I think the consistency has really just gone away from the Falcons. Like, the Super Bowl that they blew, the third quarter was like the peak of the Matt Ryan era, and it's just been all shit since then. And
that is truthfully the last time that I ever really felt confident with anything that the Falcons were doing. Like, I had Julio Jones for like one season, and he was the most frustrating player to own. Just either hurt or up and down or not scoring touchdowns. Ridley, obviously, last year was pretty consistent, but honestly, he's probably the only consistent piece in that offense.
Ridley but even him sometimes, like he gets hurt, he's an excellent player. So that's the thing. Like the Falcons, there's talent that like those 3 players we just named, Matt Ryan, Julio and Calvin. Like I would argue that's a top half of the league, at least like trio of you're going quarterback and top 2 pass catchers. I think that's it's still a trio with firepower. Arthur Smith could bring something different to the table, whatever running back that they add. But even so, I could see Justin having to add another quarterback here because, Joe Burrow is going to be hurt, and these other guys. I'll make
one last point about the Falcons, and I have a couple. Just because this is a dynasty podcast, I have a couple of theories. I truly believe that Kyle Pitts is going to go in the top 5.
Okay,
I truly believe that.
That's
the actual NFL draft, not our dynasty.
That's reasonable.
Draft.
That's reasonable. TJ Hawkinson went like 9 or 8 overall, and Pitts is a much better prospect.
So what I'm saying is, if a team falls in love with him, what if the Falcons take him?
Ooh.
Then
Wow.
you got,
Okay.
like they already like doing 2 tight end sets. Last year they used
That's true.
Ferkser a ton along with Janu Smith. So
That's
like
good. Back in
if they
Tennessee.
add Pitts, who's basically to me he's just a yoked up receiver, but he also can block a little bit. People don't actually know that.
Yeah,
he can block.
Look, and you don't need to be like this amazing blocker. Just like
not anymore. No.
Yeah, like
it helps.
Yeah, it helps, but like like the the DNs and outside rushers you're gonna be blocking are not that big anymore. So
I would argue though that like with obviously the 2 elite ones can block well. With
that
Kelsey.
True, that is what's different. But yeah,
because they're on the
Pitts
field
is. Pitts
is to me is just a receiver, truthfully. But like he's a 6'6", 240-pound freak of nature. Like he's just like literally like a Julio Jones type of guy athletically. Like he's stupid. So what better way to bring him into the league under like a guy like Julio? And I don't think Julio's going to play 4 more years.
No, actually, that'd be a good like tandem right there because Julio's kind of he's on the back 9 of his career or whatever here, and
I think that
Pitts could be a guy to slide in there.
What I'm getting at is if Pitts gets drafted there, then you got Pitts, Hayden Hurst, Calvin Ridley, and Julio at the back end of his career, and then if they pick up any running back with any talent, that offense looks fucking nice. So like,
it's a good point.
And then they got a nice OC, so it's possible that Matt Ryan could return some decent value. So it's not like totally out of the question. But I still think you should draft a quarterback. I think you'd agree with me there.
No, yeah, absolutely. But no, it's the constant lesson of how quickly things change in real football, and then hence dynasty football, right? It's like, a couple players sign here and a coach and this and that, whatever. Like, it's a year-to-year game. Yeah, shit can happen. So
what would you get this quarterback room?
I'd probably, despite all this, I'd probably go with a C+. And I was going to go C, and then in my head, I'm like, James, he has Joe Burrow. Like, it's because Joe Burrow gets that slight not knock, but he's on the Bengals, and like, I like Joe Burrow. I think, like we need to see a little more before we anoint him as, a surefire QB1 going forward and all those things. The injury is concerning, right? That and the fact that it's the Bengals, and then Matt Ryan. It almost feels like like it could be like Matt Ryan. This could be his like last real chance, and then you just have Joe Burrow. So until we see the Hurricanes add another quarterback, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm kind of considering Matt Ryan as just a QB2 at this point.
Yeah, yes.
And I don't even factor in Bridgewater and Haskins. To be honest, I don't really think they're dynasty assets at this point. So then you're looking at Burrow and Matt Ryan. I think that's like a B- C+, just because of Burrow, like literally only because of Burrow. If he gets Burrow, pairs him up with a guy like Justin Fields or like Trey Lance or something like that, that looks pretty good in dynasty. So
that's true.
So things can change quickly for that group, but let's keep moving along here. We'll go to the running back room, which is probably one of the more interesting groups to talk about that we've had so far on the podcast. To be honest with you,
this is yes.
It actually gets me excited. So, I mean, Zeke, he's an interesting one because last year, the Cowboys as an offense kind of just shit the bed as soon as Dak got hurt. They were inconsistent week to week with who was going to produce. Some weeks it was Gallup, some weeks Tony Pollard went off, some weeks CD had a better week. Like it was just all over the place. So with some normalcy with Dak coming back, hopefully by week 1, do you like Zeke's chance to get back to a top dynasty asset?
Top dynasty asset is a stretch. I think at this point, not a stretch because he could definitely have a monster year. I'll say this: where I see him right now, he's kind of like that guy in redraft that's like, like he's probably going to be like a fringe RB1 in a 10 or 12 team league, maybe, or just because like the opportunity is absolutely still there. But we did see some regression in his play. Could it be because he had COVID early in the year? I remember reading some reports that was possibly a thing. It's just tough because he didn't show a lot this year. It was there was that one Monday night game, I think it was against the Cardinals, where he like had just brutal fumbles. Actually, that was one of my few wins.
He was fumbling so much at the beginning.
It was so bad. I remember I was like up by 3 or 4 points, and I had CeeDee Lamb, and Justin had Zeke and like 2 other two other guys, because I think Justin has Gallup. We'll get to receivers next or something, and like he had some other guys, and I won in large part because Zeke got like less than 5. He was fumbling and just all sorts of nonsense. So like
he killed me in redraft. Fucking killed me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so you experienced it. Like, but I've seen him, return top 3, top 5, seasons 3-4 years in a row. So like, and if, like you said, if that comes back healthy, they're fine. The bigger question though is, can the offensive line get back to what it was? That's sort of the not untold, but like the thing that everyone loved is, the Cowboys great offensive line. Like offensive lines deteriorate pretty quickly.
Product of that though, would you say?
It's like running like.
I would argue Pollard looked better this year.
Yeah, I mean, fuck, we're
he
gassing
looked better than Zeke did. He had more explosiveness.
We're gassing up Tony Pollard on the Alex Morales podcast, like, because it was true though. Yeah, he at times Pollard did look better. Zeke was great at Ohio State. Like, I mean, they probably.
I think he's a great running back. I think now it's just. But he had a shit ton of carries to start his career. There's probably some wear and tear there. He's also got a fat contract. He's in Cabo. It
was one of those things where it's like that perfect storm of just like bad for him. He gets COVID, the team sucks, that hurts. Like
he could come back and be good.
Yeah, I mean, he's an absolute rebound candidate. The way I would kind of view him on this team is like that's like your like low end RB1 type right now, but he can easily get back to like like a surefire RB1.
I could definitely see him returning an RB like top 5 RB season like.
Yeah,
and being right in the mix with the other big ones. But I could also see it kind of like continuing to this decline, if you will, and having Pollard being there now. I mean, before, who was the Cowboys like handcuff before Pollard got there? There were some bad ones. There's some really bad ones. Like they weren't enough to challenge him. Like I think it was like Rod Smith
Pollard,
and
Smith.
Like I can't remember off the top of my head, but like there wasn't any real talent to challenge him.
That's true.
So now
they
would
just run Zeke into the ground. Yeah.
So I'd be interested to see how that split goes this year, especially because I really believe that Pollard had more juice at the tail end of last season. So that'll be interesting for Justin. I think it's safe to say he'll probably be at least an RB2 though, just based on volume.
Yes, correct.
So that's where his floor would be. And then let's go to the next guy, Josh Jacobs. He went, I think, was he 1-2 of his draft behind N'Keal Harry?
Yeah, that's when Sean passed on Jacobs for N'Keal Harry. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I mean, Jacobs I would say he's returned his value pretty nicely. I think that offense is just going to continue to use him as their ground and pound back. I mean, they invested in him. He's still very young. I would have a hard time believing he's not at least an RB2 as well.
Yeah, it's a nice 1-2 combo that this team has here with Elliott and Jacobs. Both can be RB1s, but there's some risk. Philip Tanner, there you go.
That's
nice.
a great one, Alex.
Yes.
See, that's why we have this live chat for shit like that right there.
Yes, Philip Tanner. In case you're that's the random backup to the Cowboys.
That's the Jews and Mike we've been looking for.
Very important.
Thank you for that.
But yeah, Jacobs with Elliott is a nice 1-2 punch. The Raiders, John Gruden, they love to run the football still. Jacobs had some he got like a DUI like I think the morning after their last game. So he's obviously like just like screw this season. Like I don't blame him. I would do the same thing, but like you're on the Raiders and God knows what's going on there. But
it's Vegas, man. They can do whatever they
want. Yeah, the Raiders are a weird one, but that team wants to run. For fantasy, it's great. That team wants to run the ball, and Jacobs is the guy. So,
it's a Gruden just pound the rock offense. I mean, it is what it is.
So it's
yeah, I think it'll be good for fantasy. I'm not really worried about Jacobs at all. They as of right now don't really have any real competition for him. It's like Jalen Richard and fucking DeAndre Washington. Like unless they draft the guy maybe or kind of bring in some sort of like third down back or something, I might be a little more like, okay, well that sucks. If for example, like if the Raiders draft like Michael Carter or something from North Carolina this year, where it's like he's like a little scat back, that might bother me. But
it's one of those things where like the Raiders actually might be smart to do that. Pressure, like apply some pressure to Jacobs. Like he kind of screwed up here at the end of the year with getting in trouble, and it's not a good look. And he's been on a team that they haven't made the playoffs because they've choked in November the past 2 years. I think they were 6-4 each of the last 2 years, and they just can't finish. So maybe the coaching staff is trying to just, get somebody else out in there to, push everyone on the team.
I think it's a good move. Like, it just maybe a free agent. It might be a draft pick. I mean, I think they need something besides him just to, like you said, at least just light a fire, if nothing else. Because they know he's their guy, but like if you hand the guy the keys to the castle and fucking let him run around and break shit, like he might do that. So like,
absolutely,
if you rein him in, it might be a good thing. And here's an interesting one. We got Chris Carson, free agent. We got a couple of free agents here. I think Frank Gore is a free agent as well.
Yeah. So quick Chris Carson note. This was that like last player that Justin held me over and like bent me over when we had our big trade last year for when I traded up and took Justin's pick. He got Carson, Matt Ryan, some other guys will get Marquise Brown and some picks. Carson was the one that like really kind of spilled it over, and he had another solid year. Like top 20 year, but in another lineup. Part of the problem with Justin's team here is, Jacobs also, missed some games, with Carson. It's just tough because I don't know where he's going to sign, and is he going to get that kind of volume that he got in Seattle? What happens if he ends up on, some just crap team like the Jets? Like,
goes to the Jets.
Is that a good spot? Probably not.
I don't think he goes anywhere and gets the keys to the full backfield. I don't think it's going to happen. I feel like he's going to be a timeshare back now.
Yeah.
I feel
That's true. Wherever he goes, a team will sign somebody else and or draft someone. So
right, like if he goes to like you said, like the Jets, they signed Chris Carson, they drafted back in like the second or third round, ends up being some sort of split like Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette situation.
Yeah, I hate. You're playing running back roulette.
Yeah,
every week, which is not fun. But this team here has got some hitters up top. Carson, Carson as your third back, like
it could be worse. It could definitely be worse.
We've seen worse with previous team evals, and I don't have I traded away Carson, and it really fucked me over this year. So it's it's a guy that you want on your team. What
about Carson on the Falcons? We were just talking about the Falcons.
That's absolutely that'd be kind
of nice.
That'd be a good thing.
Get him, Ito Smith, and maybe some shit draft pick or something. That'd be okay. Like I could deal with that.
I think that'd be solid too. Yeah.
It's just another thing is just, can he stay healthy? I mean, like that's another big thing. Carson always seems to be banged up to me. I've never owned him though, so
no, he always misses a game here and there. Both he and Jacobs, like I said, have missed 2-3 games. Carson had a bad injury to end the year 2 years ago. That's when the Seahawks brought Marshawn Lynch back for the playoffs, because Carson was out for the year, and then the other guy, down the list here on Justin's team, Rashad Penny. I think he spent the whole year in the IR. This past season, like the Seahawks didn't have much, so like they obviously are moving on from him because like, hey, we can't count on you. You always get hurt.
I don't blame them. I mean,
they just don't want. Yeah, they don't want to pay him, so it makes sense.
So we just talked about Rashad Penny here a little bit. So I'm gonna just kind of pass by Frank Gore. I think we know what he is at this point.
Yeah,
I don't think he's ever gonna be like a championship winner, loser. He's just hopefully gets you 7 points if he plays for whatever team it is.
And a deep dynasty league, those players.
It's helpful. It's a flex play.
You never know.
At some point. I think Rashad Penny is an interesting name because if Carson's moving on like we think he is, who else do the Seahawks have right now? It's him and DJ Dallas, as far as I'm aware.
Those other ones. Yeah, DJ Dallas, and then like is Travis Homer still even on the team? But he's just like he's a
third down back though.
Yeah, he's a replacement level Jag type player.
They're a candidate to draft the back.
Yeah,
which they do every year anyway. So
true.
They literally draft a running back every year.
Yeah, if they take one in the first round, like what if they take Najee Harris in the first round, because Pete Carroll is in this like PR war with Russell Wilson, and Russ Cook, I want to run the ball. Maybe that like what if they take Najee Harris or Travis Etienne?
Dude, that'd be cute. Now that would be nice.
That'd be one. Dude,
imagine getting like DJ, or you have a DK Metcalf, like a Najee Harris, Tyler Lockett, if Russ stays, of course. Like that looks nice. That looks real nice.
That's a good team.
I'm scared of that. I mean that's good shit. But like, let's say that doesn't happen, and Rashad Penny could be the RB1.
Yeah.
And that looks fucking nice. I mean, it took a while to get there, but he got there.
Yeah. It's hard to even like project that he could really win that spot for them because I haven't seen him on the field in at least 2 years,
played.
right? And even when he played, like, yeah, there are some flashes. Yeah, I completely forgot about him until we, dove deep into Justice Team here to look at the graphic. Like,
yeah, I mean, he's basically a stash's stash. Like he's just been around, and it's like hopefully he pans out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Sean's feeling the same way about N'Keal Harry. Just like I'm gonna hold on to him until something happens, even if he gets cut, just to see what happens because there's so much invested in him. I feel like it's probably the same situation here. So
there are guys who break out late.
Happens.
It happens.
Not often, but it happens.
Yeah, here I have one for you. Nelson Aguilar, just because I was looking at some free agent wide receivers.
Super late breakout.
Because
like 4 years deep breakout.
Yeah, I took him on with a late first round pick one year, and I cut him 3 years ago probably, and he finally breaks out this year on the Raiders. Go figure.
That's the one thing I'll say is just a self criticism of myself is I'm very impatient with players. Like I just
Mike Gesicki
was I'm stupid because there's never been a tight end as a rookie that's blown shit up. There just doesn't happen.
That's true. Yeah.
So like I had these ridiculous expectations for him that he was going to be like this because he's basically a receiver. He's not fucking blocking. He couldn't even block a fucking PHU kid right now. Like that guy sucks at blocking. So like I had this expectation he's going to come and just basically be a receiver, which receivers can break out early.
They can, but so, it's, tight end's a little more nuanced. It's the middle of the field,
but I thought they were going to use him like a tight end, which the Dolphins were incompetent at that point.
Right, the Dolphins were very bad. Yes, they were very bad.
So they were like, "Hey, we're going to insist that this great receiver has no blocking skills. Block." So, so it took a little while to get there for him. But yes, patience can pay off if you're willing to kind of if you have a top end roster that can allow your guys to be patient, basically.
That's true.
I've noticed if I don't have depth at a position on like from the top end talent, like right now my receiver room is really good. I can afford to let a guy like Tyler Johnson sit around for like a couple of years and then it hits and then it looks nice. I don't need them because I feel like if I need them and they don't pan out, I get frustrated and just want to get rid of them. I feel like that happens.
Yeah. You can't force it though, like you gotta, the guys got to develop on their own right. And like, it's, the timing is always random. That's why you just have to collect as many different assets as you can and just hope that enough of them are hitting at the right times.
Yeah. You just got it's an educated guess basically on which guys are going to hit. So let's talk about these last two guys, maybe real briefly. I'm not seeing a ton of value with either of those guys, Kelly and Coleman. I mean, Kelly's young, so he could be useful.
Kelly's an interesting one because he was getting a lot of carries early on for the Chargers. I remember like the first 3-4 weeks.
And then they never used him again.
Against
the old
DeLone
Carter special, James.
DeLone Carter.
Dude, he fucked me so bad.
I remember the DeLone
Fumbled,
Carter
never played again. -1.
-1 out.
Brutal.
Out for the rest of the game.
Out for career.
Out for the career.
Never played again.
That really got out of hand fast. Yeah.
So bad. Anyway.
Josh Kelly. Yes. The game against the Bucks, the Chargers were trying to just go into the half because like they were up, I think 24-7 against the Bucks or like something like that. This is the game that the Bucks came back early against the Chargers, and Josh Kelly was the lead back first 2-3 weeks. Things were rolling. The Bucks run defense was really shutting him down. They give him just a carry, just try to run out the half, and the dude fumbles, and the Bucks score a touchdown and end up coming back in the game. Huge play in the game. Josh Kelly, I feel like he never saw the field after that. He got maybe 5-10 carries here and there and stuff, but he was. If
you remember, Justin Jackson kind of took over.
Justin Jackson kind of took over, and then he got hurt again too. And then even when Kelly was like one of the only guys left standing, they gave it to Kalen Ballage. I remember because I was
Kalen Ballage. Eric, I was coming out of nowhere, James.
I was depending on Kalen Ballage as my RB1 in like playoff games because Chris McCaffrey was hurt and my other running back.
Kalen Ballage showed up out of nowhere.
Yeah,
it's like
and he just got signed.
Games. He was fine. So, he had Josh 60-yard games.
He had some great games. He was getting carries. I was like, wow, I have a running back getting carries. This is amazing.
This feels nice.
Josh Kelly just kind of evaporated from the picture there, which I thought was weird. So it's one of those things where it's like he started out so hot and it's promising because I believe he was a 4th round pick by Justin. So to have early returns on a 4th round pick is good. And But now it's like, I don't even know if he's going to be in the rotation next year. We'll see.
Well, I think there's one thing I will say about Josh Kelly is that they got a new coach. Anthony Lynn was a running back coach before he was a head coach. So he's probably a hard ass with the whole like, hey, let's not fucking fumble kind of thing.
That's fair.
So I'm thinking this might actually be a good thing for him with a new coach coming in. He can kind of just, reestablish himself as a good young running back, and maybe he splits more carries with Eckler than we're thinking.
That's fair.
And as like you said, as a late round pick in Dynasty, like if my running back is getting carries, I'm happy. So he could just be a nice depth piece for this team, maybe. Not a ton of upside though, to be honest. So, then Coleman, I fucking hate Coleman. Just
really,
from my time
that's right. You're Falcons. He's very talented though.
He can play. The guy can play.
He's a very talented player.
I'll say that he looks good when he plays. He just never plays.
Correct. There was, I think it was, when the 49ers had their great season 2 years ago and they went to the Super Bowl, Tevin Coleman was the bell cow early in the year. I remember he had like a 3-touchdown game. He was getting some good stuff, but then he got hurt, and then obviously Mostert kind of took over there. But Coleman, we've seen him really, play well as lead back. He gets hurt too. That's this is a reason why this team has. This team being the Hurricanes here have struggled to, I think, get back in the playoffs. Is there's a lot of the talent here at running back. It's just guys get hurt, and it probably hasn't lined up very good with injuries and bye weeks and things of that sort.
So what would you give this room?
I want to give it an A, but I have to go A-, I think, because of those reasons of that. There's some injuries, and we even kind of talked about like where's, like, not that it's lacking in upside, but it's not one of the premier upside running back teams. It's like, okay, like this guy's solid, or like I said, Jacobs and Elliott, I would put more of in the like low end one, high end RB2 spot, which is fine. It's good. It's just it's not an A for me. What would you give it? Yeah, I
think I would give it a B, and I'm giving it a B because I think there's just a lot of uncertainty with this group. I think does Zeke get back to where he's supposed to get to? If he does, then we're already bumping up to like a B+. Where the hell does Chris Carson go? We have no idea. Is Gore even going to be on the team in the NFL? We don't know. Is Rashad Penny going to? He says he wants to play. Will somebody fire him or sign him? We'll see. But Rashad Penny literally could be a handcuff. Like, we have no idea. Josh Kelly maybe gets 50% of the carries. Tevin Coleman, literally have no idea. Like, there's just a lot of like, I don't know with this team. So I'll give him a B, but talent wise, I think it's probably, an A-, something like that. Like, just overall talent on the roster is good. It's just a matter of the situations working out.
Yeah. So well, that's fair. This team will certainly be in position to add probably the top running back or one of the, he's got pick 2 and 3.
I mean, pick 2 and 3 is,
it's a great
it worked
spot.
out great for him.
Yeah. Take, the top receiver and top running back on your board, and you got 2 blue chip prospects. So,
and just walk away. Yep. I mean, it's been a nice turn of events for the Hurricanes. So let's go to the receivers. This is a hell of a group. I mean, I was just typing this shit into this, fancy graphic, and I was like, God damn, okay. Starting at the top, Michael Thomas, obviously phenomenal letdown this year. I mean, this was just like probably one of the biggest wide receiver bust seasons I can remember.
Yeah, it's startling the difference in the 2 years, because he was.
How many catches did he have the year before? Like,
he broke the record. He broke Marvin Harrison's record, right?
Just unbelievable amount. Yeah, we could look up that number, but I mean,
I think it was like 100. Yeah,
it was a shit ton. I mean, he might have had 200 targets. Like, he was just peppered with footballs, and I can't imagine off the top of my head another year where it was that bad of a bust, because he was, in redraft leagues, he's a back end first round pick, he was second round pick.
He was back first. Yeah, he had 149 catches in 2019, 40 in 2020.
That's unbelievable.
Zero touchdowns too.
And he was injured. I'll give, obviously
he was injured. He had the dreaded high, he had the high ankle sprain late in the week 1 loss against the Bucks, and he was never the same.
I mean, the thing that did, like, is, Drew Brees decline. He got injured, all this shit, like, and then I just feel like he wasn't even like alive this year. Like, I remember like playing a couple teams that had him, and I was just like not scared at all. Like, it's just a weird year for Michael Thomas. Do you think he bounces back? I mean, like
I think he'll get back into the wide receiver 1 territory. Now I'm intrigued to see what they do at quarterback. If it's the Taysom Hill show, maybe
I'm scared.
maybe we're in wide receiver 2ville with Michael Thomas. But if they just, I mean, if it's Jameis, that's actually a good thing because it's just the chuck and pray offense. And
I think if Jameis is playing and he's running slants, he's going to get a fuck ton of yards.
Yeah,
it's going to be like
some of those will be pick sixes the other way, but then that's great because then that means Michael Thomas has they got to throw it more. Yeah, it's garbage time. So that's probably best case scenario for Michael Thomas actually.
That's good. I actually think his value will be almost entirely decided on who's playing quarterback. I truly believe that. Like if like you said, if Hill plays, I think it's going to be a very like quote exotic offense where there's just going to be a lot of bullshit and
there's going to be some games where it's said Taysom Hill has more rushing yards than passing yards.
I don't like that.
And that's just what does that do for Michael Thomas? Maybe he gets 40 and a touch, but that's not what you want from a wide receiver 1.
No. Let's keep moving because we got a lot to go through here. So let's go. We got Deontay Johnson next. Johnson is going to be an interesting position because it doesn't look like the Steelers are going to bring back Juju. So that's going to leave them with Claypool.
We might talk about those two in tandem. I would say maybe even Johnson and Juju. Yeah, it's a Johnson had some of the worst drops I've ever seen. There was a game late in the year where he just
he's one of these guys.
He led the league in drops. Like to me, that's where being a receiver starts. If you can't, I don't care about your speed and all this other crap. Can you catch the football? And he's definitely bottom third among starters in terms of that. So he could lose his job, or he could spend all off season being doing drills and he learns how to catch again and he becomes a great receiver in the league. I'm gonna bet it's closer to he's just like a rotational player in the league.
Wow. Okay. James, you're dropping Deontay Johnson, rotational player.
A rotational player in the sense where like he's he'll get 60-70% snaps, but like he's not going to be the featured player that he was for the Steelers this year. Eric, he was like their featured player on offense for a lot of games.
He had like 18 targets in a couple of games.
Yeah, and like this is why they started losing because he was dropping the football. I remember they were playing the Bills and he just dropped like 2 straight drag routes on like 3rd downs and there we got a punt. And that's how you lose football games, right? You fall behind 14-0 to Josh Allen. Good luck.
Yeah,
good luck.
Yeah, you're gonna have to
luck all in. Like
it's Johnson was a guy when he came out of the rookie draft. I wasn't high or low on him. I was just like very meh. Obviously it ended up in Pittsburgh, which is like wide receiver heaven for the most part.
Yeah.
But sometimes it doesn't work out. Marcus Wheaton, not naming any names. But like Johnson was a guy that I just didn't feel like strongly about. So I thought he overperformed for me. His rookie year, I was like, okay, maybe I'm wrong on this guy. I mean, he's looking pretty damn good. And then this year, I felt like, yes, he had some good numbered games, but then there was just games. If you watch the games, you're like, fuck, like this guy doesn't look very good. Like you said, he's dropping balls like crazy.
Yeah.
I could see, and I'll go back to your point on his hands not being good. There's a wonderful Bucks favorite back in the day. He's actually an Eric Draft favorite back in the day.
Oh,
Robert Haran. Remember him?
God. Yes,
that guy had all the fucking talent in the world, but literally could not catch the ball. Never even saw the field for the Bucks. Like if you can't catch the ball, you will not play. It's just that simple.
And John, he's approaching that turn. I think they have a new offensive coordinator coming in.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
But
if they do,
we don't know if Ben is going to be back. There's a lot of turnover going on. We referenced Juju. Like I don't think he's going to be back. The Steelers.
I don't think he's coming back.
The Steelers are in kind of a cap crunch. I believe they're over the cap, and they're going to have to restructure some deals here and cut some players. I don't think he's back, and then that could be a good thing for Deontay Johnson because that means he's is going to get more of an opportunity again. But a guy like
Johnson's a clear like starter at that point if Juju leaves.
I think he is.
He's gonna play the snaps.
Yeah, so he'll get the snaps, and I think it's gonna be another roller coaster with him. You can't be that bad with drops. So that's
he's gonna have to get on the jugs machine or something.
Yeah.
Juju we'll just quickly touch on he obviously had a down year last year as well. He had one great season. And since then,
it was because it was because Antonio Brown was still drawing the coverage, and Juju got his team MVP award, and now cares more about TikTok than football.
It's weird because I
saw
like Juju as a player. I think he's a good player.
He's solid. He
But
belongs.
I don't think he's
on,
a great
on the,
player.
he belongs on the Vegas Raiders, and so you can worry about TikTok.
Yeah.
I heard they're interested in signing him. I saw a video today of him. He's like doing tug of war with a lion. Like that's cool. But are you
yourself fucking hurt while you're a free agent?
Yeah,
dope.
I mean,
yeah, I think he's more of I think there's a great John Gruden quote from back in the day. I want players, not playas. And I was like,
yes.
Oh my god, like I think he's a diva. I think
he is.
He's not a guy that I'm like super interested. I owned him last year in redraft, and he fucking killed me. So I don't want him anymore. So we'll just move along from him because I mean, yes, he could produce wherever he goes. Probably looking like at a wide receiver 3-ish type guy in that scenario, and he's not a top dynasty asset like we once thought he was.
Correct. Yeah. 2 years ago, some people thought he was a guaranteed.
He was a top 10.
One.
He was a top 10 dynasty wideout like 2 years ago. It was crazy.
You're correct. Yeah.
And then speaking of other free agents, we got Chris Godwin.
I don't
think he's going anywhere. Do you?
No, the Bucks. I was just talking about this with someone today too. Like Chris Godwin, I feel like the Bucks are going to franchise him, and then if they have to, if they can't pay him next year or in the future, then oh well, Brady will be gone. The Bucks will figure
we'll
it
just
out.
move on or whatever.
But you can't not give Brady Godwin if he's coming back. Like, what do you like?
Well, that's the whole reason Brady signed.
Yeah, he's got all these great weapons.
Hey, we got all these great weapons, and now you're gonna let Gronk and Godwin go. I don't see that happening.
Shaq Barrett is gonna be the one that the Bucks have to really pony up to pay like the real market value for. Godwin, I believe, gets franchised. So
yeah, I'd be very surprised if Godwin was not on the opening day roster for the Bucks. That would be like a huge shock to me. So Godwin didn't really have a phenomenal year this year either. Everybody kind of projected more of a breakout for him. Once again, another player on my redraft team. This is a big trending thing for me. So if Godwin he had some injury bug issues throughout the year too. This year he wasn't 100% healthy. I think he had a messed up thumb or something like that. So do you think he gets better next season? Does he kind of stay the same?
No, I think it's kind of in between his year 2 years ago and what he did this year. Like I think 2 years ago he had like 1,300 yards, and this past year he got up to like 800. So I'll split the difference and say he gets to like just under, like right around
1,100.
Yeah. And touchdowns being random, but he could easily get 8 to 12 touchdowns, no question. So I think Godwin is a solid wide receiver. Like he'd probably be like a low end wide receiver 1.
Yeah, like wide 2-3 maybe, like somewhere in that. I would say 2-3 rather than 1-2. That's just me though.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking more like, you got Michael. Let's say Michael Thomas is a back end 1 next year. Top 10 for our league. I could see Godwin maybe being like 19 to, I don't know, like 25. Like that's kind of where I'm seeing him.
I think there's real top 15 potential, but probably top 20, top 25 is probably more likely.
And that's fine.
That's still solid. Yeah.
A quality dynasty player, and he's young as hell too. I mean, he's only 25, 26.
Yeah.
He's looking good, dynasty wise. And if Brady leaves next year, then he moves on to some other team. He could still put up 3-4 more years of good dynasty production. So it's a good player for Justin.
Absolutely.
Let's stay on the free agency kind of kick here and go to Corey Davis.
That's true.
Corey Davis sucked for a long time.
Yeah, it's another post hype, sleeper kind of deal here.
Yeah, he was a classic like be patient guy. He was trash for his first few years.
Yeah.
And he had a great season.
He was a top 5 pick, wasn't he? Like the 5th overall pick for the.
I think he was number 4
by the Titans. Yeah.
Oh, you mean the real draft? He was a top 10.
Yeah, in the real draft, he was a top 10 pick. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was 8 or something like that, like really high pick. But yeah, he played way better than I thought he was going to play this year. So,
solid.
If he stays with the Titans, I like that.
Yeah, I don't know if he is. There was something I read a couple weeks ago that like they don't. Him and Jonnu Smith are like probably not going to be back. So
That's interesting.
I'm not sure.
That puts Titans in an interesting territory as far as wide receiver 2.
Yeah, they're just going to sign somebody else then. So it's like, why don't you just keep Corey Davis?
You could just keep Davis.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. Like I feel like it's kind of like, yes, he took a while to get going, and maybe Davis thinks he's worth more than he actually is on the open market. So that's probably why.
But there's a lot better receivers out there in free agency. We're kind of talking down on Juju. I probably would still like I
I'd
would
take
probably
Juju
still,
over Corey Davis.
I would sign Juju over Corey Davis in free agent. But yeah, because I think I
I
think
would take
Juju
the
brings
circus,
more
yeah.
things, and he brings more things in the slot, whereas Corey Davis is like, he's not a wide receiver one. Neither is Juju, but Juju's at least like a better like 1B or like 2A kind of player. Whereas I think Corey Davis, he's prone to these just like random stretches where he's just completely ineffective. But I've seen him really bring it.
Yeah, I think he's good, and I mean, you know, it's just a matter of where he goes. I think it's another, you know, free agency and stuff with. I think this team relies more on free agency than most of our teams in our league. There's a lot of guys on this team that are in free agency.
Well, this is a transient team that didn't make the playoffs, and there's a lot of players like we're sitting here like, man, this team there's a lot of talent here. It's just for some reason a lot of these guys didn't produce. Even we can even touch on Marquise Brown there, guys who are solid, not just not game breakers that are producing week in and week out, and that's
right.
That's kind of been like the common theme with this. Like Michael Gallup here is another one. It's like a lot of these guys are like, oh
Gallup's
yeah,
weird.
Really in fantasy football, like sometimes I feel like we also forget how difficult it is to like choose which random wide receiver 3 carousel guy to start.
Oh
wide
yeah,
carousel is it's fun when it hits because you feel like a genius, but it's a lot of it's a crapshoot and.
Well, it kills you when they get like 3.3 points.
Oh my god!
I pick up 2 catches for 33 yards. You just want to go fucking like blow your brains out. It's like, oh my god. Yeah, like guys like Gallup, I had him in redraft too. There are some weeks where it was like he's the perfect best ball kind of guy. Just like there was a couple weeks where he had like 7 targets for like 130 yards, no touchdown, whatever. Like I was like, okay, that's some good wide receiver 3 production. Then there are other weeks he literally had like 1 catch for 8 yards, and I was like, why? Like why is this happening to me? So I think there's a couple of guys at the back end of this roster that actually provide me with some glimmers of hope. I think Gabe Davis, with John Brown probably being gone there, they're going to put Cole Beasley in the slot. You already know that. And then Diggs is awesome.
Yeah. But Davis can certainly take the John Brown role where it's just like the wide receiver 2 who like runs drags and go routes the whole time.
Yeah, and that would be great. I mean, they're going to have volume there. They love throwing the ball. Yeah. And Gabe Davis is a good player too. Like
he's solid. He scored quite a few touchdowns this year. Like I want to say like probably 7 or 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, he was like kind of like their red zone guy, if you will.
That's true. Yeah,
but he was a guy out of the draft I liked. I just wasn't so sure about that landing spot because nobody knew that Josh Allen was going to do this shit this year. So like I was kind of like, I'll just pass on him and let somebody else take him. And I think he ended up going in the waiver draft.
That's right. Yeah, we were just looking at the waiver draft before we got on here. Yeah, Justin grabbed Gabe Davis in the second round of the waiver draft.
So technically round 6 if you're going to get technical.
A 6th round gem by the Hurricanes. Yeah, I just checked.
What a great 6th round pick.
he had 7 touchdowns last year. That's a rookie.
Dude, you can't ask for anything more out of the waiver draft.
So there's definitely talent there, and there's upside in a good offense. The guy here even we in between Gabe Davis here or ahead of Van Jefferson was is another rookie who's got some promise. The Rams brought in Matt Stafford, could be more opportunities for Van Jefferson there because I think Josh Reynolds is a free agent, so Van Jefferson may take one of the starting 3 spots there. So.
Yeah, I think a third receiver in that offense that's going to be losing Gerald Everett in free agency too.
Yeah.
That actually could work out for him. I wasn't a big Van Jefferson fan, to be honest with you, coming out of the draft, but the opportunity is there for sure. Like, he could prove me wrong. Quintez Cephas, speaking of opportunity, he's the only receiver on that roster.
You beat me too.
And then him and Danny Amendola.
Danny, I think he might be a free agent.
I could be wrong too, but they're both.
They signed Tyrell Williams today, Eric.
Yes, they did for $6 million.
Signed Tyrell Williams. Yeah. But you're right. Quintez Cephas has actual opportunity.
Yeah, like he could, and he actually played pretty well last year for them. Like when he got targeted, he was fine. Like he functioned. But fun fact on Quintez Cephas, he's the slowest receiver at the combine last year. He was the slowest tested in like the last 6 years or something. He's like 4.81 or something, like as a receiver. Like he's fucking slow. So like I wasn't never that high on him. I love his name, Brother Cephas. Who doesn't like Brother Cephas?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think there's some limited upside even with the nice potential landing spot there being probably at least a wide receiver 3 for that team. I think. I mean, if they have Williams, they'll probably bring in somebody else if they can't get back Galladay, and then Cephas maybe as wide receiver 3. Like that looks okay.
opportunity knocks. So yeah.
And then I'm not really going to touch on Higgins or Amon Doyle. I think those are kind of
No, I think
replaceable guys.
they're guys that probably will get cut in this league anyway.
Those are waiver wire kind of guys to me. So let's go to tight ends.
Well, grades,
grades. I always forget the grades.
And it's tough here. So
I'll
ask you here. We'll let you go first this time.
It feels so similar to the last running back.
It does.
There's so much damn talent. But does any of it live up to what it's supposed to be? Is what it is the question. I think Thomas got downgraded big time this offseason. Like I felt so good about Thomas last year. I feel really shitty about Thomas this year. Deontay Johnson, kind of a similar thing. Godwin kind of disappointed me. Brown always has disappointed me. Like I don't know. Yeah. I feel like I can only give this a B+ because of
that's fair. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of talent there. I just want to see him do it.
I know that's the crux of this team right here. Yeah, I was going to go with a B+ as well. I think that kind of sums up the running backs and wide receivers. It's in that B+, A- range, and there's so much talent that the opportunity is there for this team to take a playoff spot from somebody in our league this year.
I truly believe, like, just looking at these receivers, if he can get 3 of these guys, just 3 to hit, like, what they're supposed to be. Like, let's say it's a Michael Thomas, Godwin, and then maybe like Juju if he, lives up to the hype or whatever. Like, there's still 4 to 5 other guys on this roster that are really good. Like, that could be, quality depth players when other guys go down. Like, that's why, like, this team as a B+ could easily be an A if the things hit.
No question.
And I think if 3 of these guys hit hard, like, top end of what we think they could be, he's in the playoffs. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
So
it's a fair point.
All right. So we got some receivers covered here. There's a lot of them. Let's go to the tight ends. This is a interesting room.
It is.
I like Hawkinson. I've always liked Hawkinson. I've said this for quite a while on the podcast.
He's solid.
On the podcast a couple of episodes. And then back when he got drafted, I claimed that he was one of the better tight ends prospects that I've seen in a while because he can block like a motherfucker. He's an Iowa tight end. He's an Iowa tight end. He's going to block.
He's solid. He was the number 5 tight end. So I was just looking up. He was the number 5 tight end in fantasy this past year. So
and he quietly did that.
Yeah, well, that's how barren it sort of is after the top 2 or 3 studs. But a guy like Hawkinson who's just kind of steady in there. He's gonna be.
James, do you have his things pulled up right now? His numbers pulled up?
Yeah, I do. I have his numbers up right here.
Look at his target numbers. What was his targets like? Because I thought he was like he always got like 78 yards, 80 yards, 60 yards, but there were a lot of targets.
101 targets.
That's a lot of fucking targets.
67 catches for 723 and 6 touchdowns. Yeah, that's a solid year for a second-year tight end. Like that's solid.
But does that change now? Because Stafford's
it could. Well, Goff maybe wants to check the tight ends. Dan Campbell, former tight end himself.
Former tight end.
I
mean, maybe he'll want to.
Our friend Anthony Lynn is there, so they.
There's a chance.
It could be some power football and just throw to the tight ends. They have a sneaky, like, decent offensive line, the Lions as well. So like they can, be one of those more ground and pound teams. So I feel it's reasonable that Hawkinson can finish that same spot, tight end, number 5 in terms of fantasy tight ends. I think that's a reasonable spot for him.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do you think Hawkinson is a surefire top 5 dynasty asset in tight ends?
Tight end? Well, probably. Yeah, I would say he's.
I think he is.
I think he is. Yeah. How
many other guys are you going to take above him, basically?
You might take Pitts, right? Just because. The talent seems like it's. He may end up going higher than Hawkinson did in his draft in terms of the actual NFL draft. Kelsey's still on there, even though he's getting a little up there in age. Kittle, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews.
Would you rather have Mark Andrews on your dynasty team or TJ Hawkinson?
That's a good question. Actually.
I think they're kind of similar.
I think they're very similar. I think they're very similar players.
I would take Hawkinson personally.
You would take Hawkinson, okay?
I don't know if I think we talked about it on the Alex Morales podcast. I think we may have seen the best of Mark Andrews. I think that might be it for him.
that probably, unfortunately, as far as touchdowns, that's probably going to be his best year. And with Lamar Jackson, there's not a ton of yards. So, yeah, that's reasonable. But, yeah, that's true. And then whereas Hawkinson, I could see him having, a 900-yard season with 10 touchdowns. Like, maybe not this year, but,
it's possible. I mean,
when the Lions figure out their stuff a little bit better.
He's going to be going into his third year this year. So that's generally speaking when tight ends kind of break out. So I like the trajectory for Hawkinson as opposed to Andrews. I feel like he's going up and Andrews may be going down. So let's just keep moving on here. We got Jack Doyle, just a favorite of mine. I mean,
former LA Lamb. He was another one in Justin and I's big trade last year.
He was one of the tight ends in that his draft class. He went to Western Kentucky. And there's another guy on that team. Huge jackass, James. He was a Titans backup running back, Antonio Andrews.
Oh my God.
Remember Antonio
Andrews?
Andrews?
A reference. I remember the name.
He was on the same college team as Jack Doyle. So I remember watching that,
what a duo.
That offense, and I was like, what the fuck? But Jack Doyle is like, he's just such a solid tight end. He's just not going to be a fantasy tight end.
Fantasy-wise, I think his whatever little value he had, I think is gone.
Yeah, I think it's about over.
Between he and Jimmy Graham on this team, I think one of them is going to end up on the good old waiver wire this year.
Yeah,
so
I could see that for sure.
Whereas Troutman seems more like the high upside guy that you re-roll the dice one more year.
Yeah, Troutman for sure is like that. Tight ends don't break out year one.
The Saints just cut 2 tight ends today too. Actually, Jared Cook
he's probably
and
tight
Josh
end 1 right now.
So
him and Dan Arnold. Who's the other guy there? They have somebody else.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't think they have anybody else. He might be the only one on the roster.
He might. Yeah. So he should be the second tight end listed here. Come on, update the graphics. What are we doing?
He's probably tight end 2 on this team right now.
Yeah.
Yep. Which that's honestly a discussion that to be had. Like, does this team need a tight end? I think they kind of do behind Hawkinson.
Definitely depth, yeah, because Troutman's one of those prospects. Like, the raw talent's there, but like he may just be one of those guys that just never really does anything.
Could be a Kobe Fleener.
Yeah, Kobe Fleener actually had
he had like a couple of good years.
He had a couple years.
Well, he was way higher drafted. Like he was higher pedigree.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like tight end on the Saints just didn't work out.
It's true. That's true. But a guy like Troutman, he may never amount to anything. So in that case, this team is probably going to need at least like a competent backup.
They're a team like that could use a player like Janu Smith or like just like a Hayden Hursty kind of guy. Like maybe if just in case Hawkinson, if Hawkins gets injured, there's really nothing. I mean, like Doyle maybe gets you like 2 points a week, 3 points a week. I mean,
I wouldn't want to count on Doyle. Yeah, this team is going to need
something. I don't know how he's going to find it, but that's for Justin to figure out. Yeah. What kind of grade do you give this?
Yeah, like there's been a big theme of depth and all these things, and as we're talking it out, I'll go with B- because I was going to go with B because Hawkinson, being 5th, in terms of tight end scoring, depth, because Doyle and Jimmy Graham are basically nothings at this point, and Troutman is. It's a wild card. It's like having just another 3rd round pick this year, or 4th round pick. Like, sure.
Yeah.
So because of depth and Hawkinson, I like Hawkinson. I took Noah Fant over him when in the rookie draft when I had a chance. So I'm somebody who, for whatever, if I could redo it right now, maybe I take Hawkinson, but I still like Fant, but he hasn't produced. He hasn't produced yet, whereas Hawkinson has. I just don't know if Hawkinson is ever going to be more than like another tight end 4 or 5 season, right? Like I just don't know if his ceiling is high. I think he's going to be solid, but because I'm not in love with the depth and I'm not particularly in love with the player of Hawkinson, I like him, don't love him. I'll go B-.
Okay, that's fair. I think I'm a little bit higher on Hawkinson than you, and then I'm pretty high on Adam Troutman as well. I think he did some decent things his first year. He kind of flew under the radar because he didn't catch many balls, but he looked good. I mean, in the times he played. So I might give this a B+ because I think there's real upside with both of those two guys. I think the depth is the only reason I wouldn't give it an A, because if we're talking about TJ Hawkinson as like a top 5-ish dynasty asset at tight end, like how many teams are really going to be better than that? Like that's
true. But
if you have a guy like this, that's a really nice thing to have on your roster, like a young tight end. I think he's got a good floor.
That's fair. Yeah,
I think he's going to get you your 40, 50 yards a game.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. He's probably not going to goose you too often. Yeah.
No, so that's the reason I would probably at least give this a B, and I'll give it a B plus because I do think that there's upside there with Troutman and both Hawkinson. Hawkinson could take another step in his game.
He could,
and be a really, really good tight end. Top 3, maybe contend with. I don't. It's going to be hard to contend with Waller. So I would say Waller, Kelsey, Kittle are pretty easy to choose top 3.
Yeah, I think the Mark Andrews is the fair comparison. I think him and Andrews are in the same ballpark at this moment.
So I mean, I want to say I gave Alex a B or something like that for tight end.
I think you did B plus as well. So
I think it's similar. I think they're similar. So yeah, I'll give it a B plus and call it a day there. All right, so we're running up on the hour like we usually do. So let's talk about these draft picks that he's got a little bit here before we log off. So we got 1.2, which is his natural pick from the regular season. And then he's got 1.3, which is my good friend James is here from the CD Lamb trade from last season.
You're welcome, Hurricanes. But
I imagine James didn't think he was going to be 1.3 this year.
But I mean, CD Lamb was 1.3 last year, so I just bought it forward, right? Yeah, but I paid a hefty premium.
Yeah, it's that's what Dynasty's all about. I love that move at the time because
take your shot. It's not
so much that it was about getting a great player, but Lamb is the face of the franchise. He literally is a lamb, James. It's perfect.
It had to be done.
It had to be done. So I love it when shit gets thrown in the mix. So I'm all about that in Dynasty. So I was happy to see trades like that, and I assume once we get closer to the draft, there's probably gonna be some crazy trades this year too. So it always happens every single year. So 1.2, 1.3. This team already has talent. This team has talent. We've talked about it all hours here. There's talent. He's going to pick up 2 top 3 players if he doesn't, go Alex and fucking aggro off the board.
No, Justin.
He's more by the book.
Justin's about smart football, and this, he traded away a top pick last year. This is where you eat your meat and potatoes. You take the top running back on your board, the top receiver on your board. If you want to take Pitts, sure, do it. If you want to, if you want to try and finagle and get Trevor Lawrence at the top, sure, you can do that too. But take some top players and just be happy with it.
He can literally take one of the top. I mean, I'm just gonna assume that Chase goes 1 because I just feel like that's where it's gonna end up at this point. Alex has mentioned it. I'm not gonna. I mean, it could be a complete smokescreen. I have no idea, but
could be.
Chase is probably gonna be the highest picked player for Dynasty, in the actual NFL draft.
Yeah,
it's probably him or Pitts.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
If let's say Chase goes first in the NFL draft and he goes first in our draft, he's going to have the opportunity to take a top player at 3 of the dynasty positions: quarterback, running back, and tight end.
Absolutely.
And then if he wants to take a receiver, it's not like Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle are that far off.
No.
It's
he
certainly
could just
possible.
take two of the 3 Alabama studs. Take Najee Harris, and then whichever.
Nobody's going to say anything bad about that.
And take whichever receiver you like.
Yeah. I think he's in a phenomenal position this year.
I think it's very likely that Najee Harris ends up on this team because with that either pick 1, 2 or 1, 3. Unless the Lynn silly nannies come to their senses. I don't know how to say come to their senses, but change course and decide to take a running back.
Yeah, we talked about this team being a potential playoff team if everybody hits. If they have 2 of these picks hit, in the top 3, and then they not to be thrown out the window here, 2 is a high pick as well.
It is.
That's basically a back end 1. So
that's 1 pick before my first pick, and I'm kind of excited. Oh, pick 13. that's not too bad. 2, 3. Yeah, 2.
So it's gonna be
2. He's gonna get a solid player there too.
It's gonna be a monstrous draft for Justin. He's gonna have to really watch his tape, do his homework on the guys he likes because he could literally vault himself into an entire tier difference
than where he is
based on where he's at now.
This is like a sleeping giant franchise, right? With all these assets, and then with this draft, there's real opportunity to make a big move.
Does Justin get more active in free agency though this year?
Well, that's the biggest question surrounding this team is the free agency, and being active even with trades or even more proactive on the waiver wire, and starting different guys and stuff. I just feel like something's been missing in that regard. That's, acquiring players is a part of the game. Starting the right guys and making moves during the season is a very, underrated, under talked about part of the game sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, like, yes, you can get the right guys, but starting them, I've added so many guys just kind of on the waiver wire over the years. I mean, just guys that aren't even on my team anymore. Like Tyreek Hill was literally a free agent pickup for me. I picked up I had Stephon Diggs on my team at one point. Like guys, like you have to add guys in free agency.
You do
to win championships. Like
I completely agree.
I can't tell you how many depth guys on my team that have at least contributed, on a bye week filler or whatever. Like those guys matter. So, I mean, it's a lot of work to like churn the bottom of your roster sometimes, like to find guys that like have any value in our league, especially because we're so deep. But there are guys out there.
There's talent there. Hey, this is a competitive league. Like we're making a podcast, right? Like we're
making fucking podcasts, James.
This is a competitive league, right? So yeah, in order for this team to get back into the playoffs, don't screw up the draft because you're in a great spot, right?
I mean,
so
that's number one. And
don't
Alex the shit.
Justin is not going to screw. He's not going to screw this up. He's going to, whatever he does, where everyone's like, oh wow, look at his draft, and it's going to be warranted. But the real challenge comes when the grind hits. Who are you starting week 6 when injuries and just take a couple of your guys out and you got some bye weeks, and are you starting the right defense? Did you pick up a kicker to replace your kicker? Do you have a quarterback, or are you screwed with bye weeks? Like that happened to this team, I think 2 years ago, where like they just like didn't have a quarterback because of some injuries.
Dwayne Haskins, some shit.
Yeah, like you got to like you have to think ahead and very far ahead in some of these instances, and that's that. I don't think it's a coincidence that this team has started off hot, even last year, maybe a couple of years ago, and then when sort of the grind hits, they start to fall back into the pack. A couple right moves, and heck, if just all your starters hit, you don't need to worry about the grind. Then you're fine. But then even late in the year, to win late, you still have to have.
There's always guys at the end of the year.
You have to win. In order to win late, you have to have depth too. So there's a lot of questions to be answered for this team, and not all of them will be answered with the draft.
That's a great way to put it. And I can tell you from experience, like I thought I had the deepest team this year in the entire league. And there was points towards the end of the year, I was starting Carlos Hyde because I had nobody else. Like I just didn't have anyone.
You had to figure it out,
but I had injuries and all other shit because you have to do that to win. It's just how it is. So absolutely. It'll be interesting to see if this team, if those guys hit, and if there's a culture change, if you will, within within the front office for the Louisiana Hurricanes. And if they do, it's a playoff team. I think it's a playoff team.
On paper, it's a playoff team. Alex Morales and his rival podcast that may one day spawn consistently ranked this team as third in the power rankings, even when he was like 3 and 7. He's he's still third in the power rankings. Okay, the talent's there. Something's got to give.
Yeah, I want to see. I feel like this is the Dallas Cowboys of our league. All the talent's there. Just like where's the production?
Yeah, Cowboys, Chargers, maybe even like
Chargers be better because they don't make the playoffs.
all the talent on paper and just
where are you going? Yeah.
So
all right, we're a little bit over our normal hour here. So thanks, James, for joining me on this one. We kind of did this on a spur of the moment type of deal, but we got 3 of these team reviews down. We got about 7 more to go here, and we're gonna see if we can plow through these for right before the draft starts. So we'll tune in next time, and we'll sign off here. And James, thank you one more time.
Thank you for having me.
All right.